Welcome back to Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and it's a huge edition of Tuesday's Movies TV Mad Daily. As yesterday, someone claiming to be working on the production of the Flash movie, someone who leaked that stunning Flash costume on Ezra Miller, and I know you could only see the side of it. I know that, but it is a great costume. He's got the boots with the gold on it. I'm not going to show it to you just in case my YouTube channel or video gets taken down. I don't want to do that, but it looks stunning. But the same person who was leaking this, and has been leaking lots of stuff from the sets at Glasgow and things like that, said that he has seen Cavill on the set of The Flash as Superman. Wow, but not only that, he's seen Cavill and Affleck in a scene together in the Flash movie. This should come as no surprise to anyone who follows me on Twitter or follows my channel, because I've been telling you that Zack Snyder's Justice League cast would all appear in this movie, maybe apart from Ray Fisher, but don't discount Ray yet. Because even if he's changed his mind, or Warner Brothers have changed their minds about having him, you wouldn't know about it. And he isn't going to tell you because he would be under an NDA. And so I believe that every member of Zack Snyder's Justice League will be a part of this movie. But it goes beyond that. Every prominent member of the DCEU will be involved in this film, including Harley Quinn, including some prominent members of maybe David Ayer's Suicide Squad, and even James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and it doesn't matter if they've been killed off or not. No. So I repeat, Henry Cavill has been confirmed to be in the Flash movie as Superman and to be in a scene with Batfleck, which is cool, because we never thought that would happen. Well, I did, but you just keep on believing the wrong people. Just because I don't have 100,000 followers. You think I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do. This was always going to happen. But also, we've got to be very, very careful here. Because we already know there's multiple versions of Batman in this movie. We already know there's multiple versions of Superman in this movie. Henry Cavill was always going to be in this movie. I told you that Henry Cavill was always going to cameo in Shazam 2 and Black Adam as well. That was always going to happen. But I've also been telling you for months, Nicolas Cage's Superman, Brandon Routh's Superman, Tyler Hoechlin's Superman, and who knows, Michael B. Jordan's Superman we haven't seen yet. Who knows? The possibilities are infinite. This is why this movie is so exciting. And if you're a DC fan, you shouldn't be triggered by this. Excuse me, it's that voice getting too excited. But you shouldn't be triggered by this. This is a celebration of DC and their great roster of characters. This is a celebration of most live action versions of these characters. You're going to see them. But it doesn't stop there. Because potentially, you could see Henry Cavill as well as the Superman we know and love. But as another character, maybe on another Earth, he's Batman. Or the Penguin, who knows? As I say, the potential is limitless here. And very, very exciting. So yes, I don't know this guy, this guy who works on the production of The Flash from Adam. I don't know if he's telling the truth, but he did leak that Flash costume. So that gives his credentials a leg up. So yes, I believe him, right? And yes, he has deleted his tweet, but I believe him because I've always known, my people told me from the very beginning, even before DC Fandom last year, that every member of Zack Snyder's Justice League cast would be involved in this movie. Yes, including Ray Fisher. We will see about that. But there's no question, everyone else, yes. Get excited, because for the first time since Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, we're going to see Henry Cavill in a DCEU movie. For the first time since Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, we're going to see Cavill and Affleck as Superman and Batfleck in a scene together. There can be nothing more exciting than that. If you are a DC fan, If you're a Snyder fan, it doesn't matter. It should be exciting for everyone, because everyone is going to get what they want here. And that's exciting. The potential is amazing. This means that Ben Affleck and Cavill have shot their stuff. Now, I wouldn't say it's a great deal of stuff. Maybe Affleck is more prominent than Cavill, but Cavill's done something, which is very, very exciting. Now, I will read an article from Screen Rant later on talking about how everyone's been saying the Snyderverse will be deleted, but basically the author of the article's take is, but they're using all this stuff. I can tell you something else extremely funny and exciting at the same time. You see, Warner Brothers approached Andy Muschietti, say his name properly, and they said Justice League is canon in your film. He said no. Andy Muschietti has balls of solid rock, and he told WB, there's no way you can make me make that pile of shit canon. And they asked him why. He said, listen, we want to start from scratch. We want a good reputation with the fans. The Snyder Cut is the one people see as canon. It's the one us directors, all us DCEU directors, see as canon. All of us, there's not one who wants to use Justice League because it's shit, because of how the actors were treated, how Zack was treated. So this tells you what kind of person Andy Muschietti is, because we all saw him as a company man before this point. But I always knew that wasn't the case. So Zack Snyder's Justice League is canon. I've already told you in a few other videos in the past that some people have also told me, and they've posted this on the internet as well, so this is not exclusive to me and my people, and that there's a moment at the beginning of the film where Barry says, well listen, I broke the speed of light. He doesn't say in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but he says I broke the speed of light, as he did in Zack Snyder's Justice League, for a monumental second. If I could do it for longer, I could go back in time and warn my parents. I think this is true. So this again proves that the Snyder Cut is canon. Now I will continue this conversation after that Screen Rant article, but what I will say is, just because the Snyder Cut and the Snyderverse is canon at the beginning of this film, it doesn't mean they're not going to delete everything when Barry reboots the multiverse. They could delete it, they could keep it, it could be forgotten and remembered later on. We know that things are being rebooted, but they've already told us that nothing's going to get forgotten. We'll talk more about this when I read that Screen Rant article a little bit later on. But just to repeat, this very exciting news, this news I believe, even though it's from a random who posted a leaked picture of the Flash's new Flash costume, and it looks great from the side. I can't wait to see more of it, by the way. But Henry Cavill has been confirmed by someone allegedly who worked or who is working in the Flash movie. Henry Cavill has been confirmed by someone who works in the Flash movie to be appearing in the Flash movie in a scene with Ben Affleck's Batman. Now nothing, as a fan of Zack's DC properties, as some of you are, and I am of course, as you know, that doesn't mean I think the man walks on water. I've criticised him sometimes and I think that's right. That's how balanced conversations and opinions are. But this is true. And the Snyderverse is canon at the beginning of this movie. But I can't guarantee you that it'll be canon at the end of this movie. Now someone said on Twitter yesterday, oh my God, the security at WB is terrible. Really? You really believe that? Think about everything we've seen. We have seen nothing that hasn't been announced. We know Ezra Miller's in this movie. We've seen him multiple times. We knew Michael Keaton was in this movie. We've seen pictures of him multiple times. We knew Sasha Calle is Supergirl in this movie. We've seen her multiple amount of times. So nothing we've seen is that much of a surprise. It's good to see it. It's exciting. What I'm getting at is the studio are doing this on purpose. Yeah, they'll take videos down and things like that, people showing their stuff just to make it look good. But if these people were really leakers and scoopers, and they weren't just people being told to do this, they would have leaked a picture of Cavill in his costume, or Nick Cage in his Superman costume. No, We're only seeing stuff that we already knew was happening in this movie. It's extraordinary, it's got me hyped, and it's got me extremely excited. Wow! If you thought that was exciting, this is just as exciting. I nearly said more exciting, but of course it's not. But it's exciting. So last night they had the US premiere of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. All the actors went there. And all the DC actors who are already involved in DC properties were there as well. Which is very, very interesting. Because quite a famous young man was there. Cobra Kai star Xolo Maridueña in talks to lead DC's Blue Beetle. And here he is. This is him. So, if you watch Cobra Kai, and I don't, but doesn't he play the main character? I'm not sure. But that's him. So awesome. I approve of this casting, if it's who I think it is. But anyway, he looks great. He's going to be great. So they're saying he's in talks. I can tell you he's already confirmed. He was at the premiere last night. Interesting. I don't think he would have been there if he wasn't already cast. So basically, this guy, Maridueña, I can't even say his name, Maridueña in talks to lead DC's Blue Beetle. Actually, his first name's Xolo. So we call him Xolo. We can call him X, whatever. But very exciting. Cobra Kai actor Xolo Maridueña is in negotiations for the lead role in Blue Beetle for HBO Max and Warner Brothers. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Angel Manuel Soto, who helmed the 2020 Sundance coming-of-age drama Charm City Kings, was earlier tapped to direct DC's first film to centre on a Latino superhero. Gareth Dennett Alcocer, who penned Miss Bala and the upcoming Scarface reboot, wrote the script for Blue Beetle. So these are great people involved. Maridueña starred in Cobra Kai alongside Ralph Macchio, William Zabka, Courtney Hengler, Mary Mauser, Tanner Buchanan, Martin Cove, Jacob Berto, blah blah blah, we don't care. Multiple iterations of Blue Beetle have existed in the comics, with the film focusing on Jamie Reyes, an El Paso teen who used alien armor granted by a strange artifact to defend his hometown. Reyes first debuted in the comics in 2006 from creators Keith Giffen, John Rogers and Cully Hartnett. Warner Brothers' next big screen outing is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, due out August the 6th. The Blue Beetle film is looking to start production in early 2022. John Rickard is producing for HBO Max. Zev Foreman is executive producing. Maridueña is repped by blah blah blah. We don't care about that. So, you can see that the writer and the director of this film are top talent. Now you can see, and I mean, I think I remember watching the pilot of Cobra Kai, and I think he was the young man who's being bullied, who begged, I forgot his name now, the other character who got beaten by Ralph Macchio in the first Karate Kid. I think that's him. I think it's him. I could be wrong. But he looks great, and I'm happy about this casting. I'm very happy about Blue Beetle, and this is why I read that Ann Sarnoff Variety interview the other day, just to confirm to you yet again that everything she said she was going to do, she is doing. Everything she said she was going to do, she's doing. Walter Hamada are doing. Jim Lee's doing. It's fucking awesome. And I can't wait to see Blue Beetle, because I think the talent making it are top level. Now Jeffrey Wright, who's our brand new Earth 2 Commissioner Gordon, is narrating What If. We don't want to talk about What If. I am interested in it, but not that interested in it. But there is a portion in the Hollywood Reporter while he's talking about What If, where he talks about the Batman. So let's give it a read. Wright is also looking back at the prolonged production of Matt Reeves' The Batman, in which he plays Gotham City PD's James Gordon, and while he's immensely proud of the film itself, he's just as proud of the cast and crew for taking the necessary precautions to protect each other during the ongoing pandemic. It was gothic, it was sleuthful, if that's a word. It was mysterious, it was tricky. It was tricky because of the conditions that we were working in. Right shares, it was isolating for those of us who were away from home, out of the country, over in London. I experienced more quarantines than I would wish on anyone, going back and forth over the last 6 months. So it was a pretty dogged one to try to pull off. But what I will say about it too is that it was really gratifying because we all unified around the purpose of doing our jobs, making this film, protecting one another and getting through it together. And we did. I think we made a brilliant movie and we did it as a collective that came together as one. In recent conversation with THR, Wright also teases the possibility of the Watcher appearing in live-action MCU. We don't care about that. And I think that's all he has to say about that. I think it's important because he does say a bit more, not in this interview, but he does say that this is Matt's vision, that they all supported Matt's vision, and look, the Batman after the Suicide Squad is excitingly the DCEU's next movie. Now, we're going to have to get used to calling it the DCEM, the DC Extended Multiverse, because even before Flashpoint, we are delving into the multiverse, because yes, Matt Reeves, that beautiful man, talented artist film, is in Earth 2. So this is the first time we're going to see a live-action movie in Earth 2. Now we know we've seen an Earth 2 before in Arrowverse, but this is a different Earth 2. So basically, after Flash, they're going to have to give us a map or something to make sure everything, including the stuff in Arrowverse, in the movies, is in order and they're numbered properly. Now, by rebooting the multiverse, even though Arrowverse had an Earth 2, maybe that Earth will be another Earth now. It can be confusing, but it can also be fun if they do give us a map of the multiverse. I think all us geeks and nerds would swallow the fuck out of that. But the Batman is one of my most anticipated DC movies, and I can't wait to see it. Now, fingers crossed on Friday, if I've got the right piece of paper proving that I'm double jabbed, which I am, I will be able to see James Gunn's The Suicide Squad for a second time this Friday. This is what I wanted to do, see it at least twice before I did a review, and I think I've done a little bit of a review. I may talk about the film at the end of this video a little bit with no spoilers. But after Friday, maybe on Saturday or Sundays or Mondays Movies TV Mag Daily, I will do a spoiler review. I think at the end of this video, if I remember, because I may forget, that's what I'm like, I may talk to you about the deaths of the James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I won't tell you who's dead, but I will tell you what I think of the deaths. Right, let's get on with the show then. The Flash embraces Affleck Batman's most controversial Snyderverse elements. The Flash movie has long been rumoured to steer away from Snyder's influence, but we knew that was never going to happen. But it's a depiction of Batman embraces Snyder's controversial elements by Stephen M. Colbert. That's why we're going down this route. Despite repeated claims that the Flash movie would pivot the DCEU away from the controversy of Zack Snyder's DCEU canon. Now, before we start, nobody officially has told you that. The only people who have been telling you that are high-profile elites on the internet who could have just been saying that, right? Or just giving their opinion. Ben Affleck's Batman is going to be embracing one of the more controversial elements of Snyder's Batman. When Snyder's first cast Affleck as Bruce Wayne for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, there was a severe backlash, but Affleck's portrayal of the Dark Knight ended up being one of the movie's most praised elements outside of some key complaints. Many saw it as a misunderstanding or outright betrayal of the world's greatest detective. Zack Snyder's DC movies were popular drawing but notoriously less than expected numbers at box office. But the critical and reception was polarizing, to put it lightly. Snyder's approach to superheroes didn't match Marvel's four-quadrant appealing popcorn blockbusters, and frustration with Snyder's approach is ultimately a key factor in the director's departure from Justice League, and the reason Warner Brothers brought in the Avengers director Joss Whedon to replace him. Despite these attempts to distance from Snyder, persistent demands for the release of the Snyder Cut ultimately resulted in Zack Snyder's Justice League coming to HBO Max. And now there's signs of the director's continued influence on the future of DC movies. Now, he's kind of right, but he's also kind of wrong, and I'll explain why at the end of this article. After repeated claims he was done with the role, Ben Affleck's Batman is returning to the DCEU, with The Flash and recent set photos show Affleck's stuntman on a motorcycle, and like the Batmobile in Snyder's movies, the motorcycle equipped with machine guns and heavy artillery. Of course, it must be mentioned that almost every single live-action Batmobile has had guns, and most of them have been used with lethal force. The big difference is Snyder's view on violence is that it shouldn't be taken lightly, and he said it shouldn't be glorified by making palatable or safe for kids. Zach, I've got no complaints what you did in your movie, mate, but you're wrong there. That is a key factor in why his version of Batman shows how his actions result in death of criminals, drawing huge debates to this day over whether or not Batman should kill. I don't have a strong opinion whether Batman should kill or not. I'm fine if he does or not. In fact, being one of the darker characters in the DC kind of lexicon, I'm quite fine with him killing, but I understand why some people are not comfortable with him killing. But when I used to watch the A-Team and they used to crash their cars and everyone got out fine, I just used to laugh. I knew it was stupid, but I knew why they were doing it, and that's okay. Of course, the easy answer is that in an ideal version, Batman should not kill. But the Batman in Batman v Superman was not introduced as an idealised version of the character. His entire arc centred around the fact that he'd fallen from his ideals, adopting new rules, and it took Superman's sacrifice to remind him what it truly means to be a hero. Regardless, the fact of the matter is any realistic depiction of heroes like Batman means even if he tries to avoid it all at all costs, his actions will at least occasionally result in incidental death. And sometimes criminals will force him to make a choice to kill or be killed, or allow the death of an innocent. In Snyder's movies, Batman isn't about to let an aversion to killing prevent him from saving the life of Martha or anyone else. So in the Martha moment, when he says Martha, he pretty much had no choice but to kill those people. I mean, maybe he could have knocked them out, I don't know. But I mean, he's on his own and he's fighting them. And there's times when he didn't have to kill the people he killed. It's true. We say it's not all self-defence, and you can't give it the self-defence thing. We don't know what the future has in store for Affleck's Batman, or entirely what his role is in the Flash movie. So it's entirely possible he and his more violent methods will be phased out due to Barry making changes to the timeline. But regardless of Batman's future in the DCEU, it's clear that Flash director Andy Muschietti isn't shying away from this depiction of Batman due to the internet drama. But it has yet to be seen if the utilisation of this artillery will result in a consternation from fans as it was with Affleck's Batman in Snyder movies, or it'll be embraced by fans as it was for Keaton, Bale and other iterations of the Caped Crusader. Just remember, Bale and Keaton weren't killing people for fun. Now you may find that an incident because something those Batmen did killed people, but they didn't murder them. There's a difference, and people need to understand that. Right. You're bringing back, basically, the start of the Flash movie is a continuation from the last DCEU movie, basically. So, you've got Zack Snyder's Justice League. No, let's start again. Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, the Batman, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And then you've got the Flash movie. I think I've got that right. No, Black Adam comes before that as well. So basically, the Flash movie will continue on from all those iterations of the DCEU. Obviously, it won't continue from the Batman because the Batman's in a different Earth, and that's fine. So, whatever's happened in those other DCEU movies is canon at the beginning of this movie. But as I said earlier, just because all this stuff is canon at the beginning of the movie, it doesn't mean it's going to be canon after the movie. And I must make a correction. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, my apologies, is after the Flash movie. That's the first movie where we'll see these changes. Very, very exciting. So just because everything's canon at the beginning of the Flash movie, it doesn't mean it will be canon by the end of the movie. And that's fascinating and interesting. We're going to have to wait and see what happens to the Snyderverse. The point is about the future of the Snyderverse. What WB don't want is this director running the game. But they're quite happy having elements of the Snyderverse continue on in these movies as long as they're in control of them. Because Snyder and the studio couldn't work together, and that's obvious. But I think they're more than happy to have Batfleck and Cavill's Superman if they control the direction they're in. And that to me is better than nothing, and I'm happy for that. I really am. Now, moving away from the DCEU, Venom 2, Why Carnage is a Red Symbiote. We had a new trailer yesterday, and I must admit, I was very impressed for Venom 2. And I tell you what, I can see Sony Marvel taking over the MCU. I can see this film making more money than Black Widow, which won't be difficult, making more money than the Eternals, making more money than Shang-Chi. It won't beat Spider-Man No Way Home, but I think this is $1 billion movie. Now, it could be difficult to make $1 billion movie because of the pandemic, but maybe they'll be able to do it. Nothing's impossible. Now, there are rumours that this film could be delayed again because actually Sony don't have a streaming platform. They only have a cinematic release pattern. Now, I still think this will be released, but we'll have to wait and see. The new trailer for Venom 2 reveals that the movie will be adopting Marvel Comics' explanation for why its villain, Carnage, is a red symbiote. Now, again, very, very awesome. Very awesome, because they're taking it from the comics, and that's always a good thing. The second Venom Let There Be Carnage trailer reveals that Sony's next Marvel movie will be adopting the comics explanation for why its villain Carnage is a red symbiote. The newly released second trailer for the movie shined the spotlight on Woody Harrelson's Venom 2 character and his menacing design. True to his appearance in Marvel Comics, Carnage has the look of a red Venom-like creature. Carnage, aka Cletus Cassidy, has long been known as one Marvel's most evil villains. This reputation is built on the fact that Cassidy is a ruthless serial killer, which allows him to stand far apart from Venom, who is sometimes depicted as an anti-hero. It's because of this different that Spider-Man and Venom have often found themselves on the same side when a conflict with Carnage arises. Peter Parker won't be involved in Carnage's live-action debut. Or is he? We will have to wait and see. I've lost where am I? Anyway, Peter Parker won't be involved in Carnage's live-action debut, but the iconic 1990s Marvel villain will be facing off against one of his arch-enemies on the big screen in September 2021. Following a cameo in Venom's post-credits scenes, Cletus Cassidy will acquire the red symbiote and become a huge threat to Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy in Venom Let There Be Carnage. The new trailer, which explored how Cassidy's transformation into Carnage will come to pass, sheds light on why he's a red symbiote. The reason is linked to what caused the monster to be created in the first place. In the trailer, Cassidy is shown to be behind bars when he bites Eddie on the hand and makes a comment about the unusual taste of his blood. Based on what happened in the comic book version of the story, this is likely the moment where Carnage is born into Sony Pictures' universe of Marvel characters. In the comics, Eddie and Cassidy were in prison together until the former was freed by the return of the Venom symbiote. Apparently, the black symbiote spawned on an offspring there in the cell. Feeling abandoned, it bonded with Cassidy by entering his body through a cut on his hand. So slightly different, but pretty much the same. The symbiote bonding with Cassidy by becoming a part of his bloodstream makes sense of Carnage's red colour in the comics. Since Cassidy was seen biting Eddie on the hand in Venom 2 trailer, it stands to reason that the comic's blood explanation will translate to the movie's take on Carnage's origin as well. It looks like Carnage's unique appearance will serve a purpose in the movie aside from it making for a good visual. In the trailer, the Venom symbiote expressed reluctance about fighting him after noticing that Carnage is a red one, which suggests that the red symbiotes are naturally more powerful than all other members of his species. More about their powers and what makes them special could be explored more deeply when the two Spider-Man villains clash in Venom Let There Be Carnage. I am very, very, very excited about this film because I know who's written and directed this film, as you do. Mr. Gollum himself. Yes, I've forgotten his real name, but the guy's a fucking multi-talented genius. Actor, producer, director, writer. I mean, the guy's fantastic. And, you know, I love him. And I'm so confident about this movie. He's going to do something great with this movie. But of course, as usual, the MCU stands and the MCU journalist stands from entertainment media have tried to put the kibosh on this movie, trying to be negative on it. Bad marketing. Don't like the trailers. You didn't like yesterday's trailer. Are you deaf, dumb and blind? No offence to deaf, dumb and blind people. I would expect you to be able to see more than these biased journalists. But at the end of the day, this movie, 3 minutes or whatever of this, how long this trailer was, the mere minutes I saw of this trailer were more entertaining than WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki, and Black Widow put together. And I'm sure a lot of you, if you weren't embarrassed to admit it, would agree with me on that point. So bring on Venom, let there be carnage. What's better than Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson duking it out in an awesome epic CG battle? Freaking nothing when it comes to these Marvel characters. Huge news, which I'm sure you professional geeks and nerds already know about. Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV show gets September 2022 release date, and I can't wait. Now, the fandom menace are not very pleased and excited about this show. In fact, they reckon it's going to go very, very woke. We will have to wait and see. By the way, I don't like that word woke. I don't like using it, but it's the only way I can explain what I'm trying to say to you. But I'm excited. At long last, fans know when they can expect Amazon's massive Lord of the Rings series to arrive on their screens early September 2022 by Rachel Abernathy of Screen Rant. Amazon announces their highly anticipated Lord of the Rings series will premiere in September 2022. J.R.R. Tolkien's epic Middle-earth saga has fueled 2 blockbuster film franchises, the first of which features the movie that still holds the record for most Oscars won in one night. With Tolkien's world being so vast and rich, it's no surprise that the Lord of the Rings is now shifting towards television, with Amazon's series, which will be set thousands of years before the original trilogy, and The Hobbit during Middle-earth's second age. It has already been renewed for a second season. This is the most expensive scripted streaming movie or series ever made. They've invested a lot of money in this. Amazon's first bought the rights to The Lord of the Rings in 2017, with development starting a year later. As one of the most expensive shows in television history, there is a great deal of anticipation surrounding the series, which stars the likes of Robert Aramayo, Morifydd Clark as Lord of the Rings character Galadriel. The series will follow a new cast of characters as they confront the long-feared re-emergence of evil in Middle-earth. For some time now, many expected Amazon to debut the show later this year. I never expected that. I just don't think it's ready. I know they've finished making it, but I don't think it's ready. They need post, they need to do the VFX. I don't think they're that far along yet. I don't even think they're ready for a trailer. So I'm happy with this date. However, it's now clear fans will have to wait much longer to see this new Lord of the Rings story. You see, this is why Rachel started saying people expected it this year. Who expected it this year? So you could just say that we have to wait now to put a negative on. Typical journalism. On Monday, Amazon issued the announcement that The Lord of the Rings will premiere on Friday, September 2nd, 2022. New episodes will arrive weekly after that, and the series will be available in more than 240 territories and countries around the world. Amazon also confirmed that production on Season 1 has officially wrapped as of Monday. Jennifer Sulke, head of Amazon Studios, said in a statement, "The journey begins September 2nd, 2022 with the premiere of our original The Lord of the Rings series on Prime Video. I can't express enough just how excited we all are to take our global audience on a new and epic journey through Middle-earth. Our talented producers, cast creatives and production teams have worked tirelessly in New Zealand to bring this untold and awe-inspiring vision to life." And here's a little picture here. It's stunning. I don't know if you can see it properly, but it's fucking stunning. I love it. If I died before I see this, I'd die happy. Anyway, additionally, Lord of the Rings showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay said, as Bilbo says, "Now I think I'm quite ready to go on another journey. Living and breathing Middle-earth these many months has been the adventure of a lifetime. We cannot wait for fans to have the chance to do so as well." The 2022 premiere date for The Lord of the Rings is much later than initially expected, as she's already said. She's decided to underline this point. While it seemed uncertain that it would arrive in 2021, it was never arriving in 2021. Because of the show's massive scope and delays caused by coronavirus pandemic, that the series won't debut until the last third of the year is a bit surprising. It's not surprising to me, Rachel, but obviously you're trying to make a thing out of it. If anything, this speaks to just how large The Lord of the Rings truly is. The production only just reached its end, and it has the entirety of post-production to get through, as I just said. In sharing the premiere date, Amazon also released the first official photo from Lord of the Rings, which hints at its sheer size. With The Lord of the Rings not expected to arrive until next year, Amazon can take its time promoting the series. Just by being a project set in Middle-earth, there is a lot of excitement among fans of Tolkien's novels. Now, Amazon can also spend time appealing to casual fans who are perhaps more inclined to watch the movies than read the books. With a year still to go before The Lord of the Rings arrives, expect more peeks at the series to gradually emerge in the coming months. And I couldn't be more hyped. I loved what Peter Jackson did. Look, I've tried to read the Hobbit books and the Lord of the Rings books. There's maps in there, it's everything. I couldn't do it. I am a reader, but I do lack a lot of concentration. I don't know how Peter did it. I don't know how Peter made 6 movies out of those books. And it just shows you how much Peter knows about them and knows of them and how talented he is. And I'll always be so grateful that he gave all of us this in live action, because you can still go back. There's very few blockbuster movies as good as these, because they're not typical blockbuster movies. There's action, heart, brutality, everything. And I can't wait to see what these showrunners have brought in their vision of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Matt Damon had a very controversial interview with The Independent, the UK publication, and he said a lot of controversial things. I'm not very interested in the parts about his daughter telling him not to F and blind because it could be offensive to gay people. That shit doesn't interest me, and if you're offended about that shit not interesting me, I apologise up front. I'm an entertainment man. I love movies and television. So Ben Affleck, like Martin Scorsese, has been talking about berating the death of the movie star. You know, Matt Damon was, did I say Ben Affleck? I'm sure I said Matt Damon. I can't even remember, I'm losing it. But anyway, Matt Damon was talking about the days when the movie star would sell the movie. Now it's the franchise. Now he said something very controversial. He said anyone could have played Iron Man, aka Tony Stark. Now, when he explained himself, I can understand what he's attempting to say. He's saying people don't go to see Robert Downey Jr., they were going to see Iron Man. I agree with him to a point. I just don't think he explained his point very well. Let me translate what Matt was attempting to say. When we look at Robert's movies, in between his stints as Iron Man, they haven't been very successful. Basically, he's not like the old-fashioned movie star who could sell any piece of shit because of his name. You know, Robert Downey Jr. isn't that, that's a fact, and that's what Matt's trying to say. Now, could anyone have played Iron Man? Listen, Robert Downey Jr. injected his ideas, his personality, his Genevieve into that character, and it worked. Now, if a bunch of actors did it their own way, I think it still would have been successful, but just very different. Now, if we're talking about anyone on Twitter being able to play Iron Man, no. Acting is something that takes focus. I'm an actor, I get it. I also direct and I also write. But I'm an actor, and I understand what kind of focus it takes to be an actor. I act on stage here in Cyprus from material I write and direct myself. So that takes double the focus. And I'm not saying I'm Sir Laurence Olivier or Tom Cruise or whatever actor you fucking admire. I'm saying when I'm doing it, it takes focus. And it's kind of offensive to people, and it is to me, to tell people that anyone can act. Now, I don't think Matt's trying to do that. Matt's making a deeper point about the state of the industry because of franchise filmmaking. When I grew up, I could go into HMV or Our Price and buy The Bodyguard, and buy No Way Out, you know, buy The Untouchables, buy A Few Good Men. Discover little gems that no one's ever heard of. Now, you go onto Amazon to see the Blu-ray collection they have. It's mostly franchises. There's not very interesting nuggets that you can discover then. You can discover. You know, I think there's lots of great indie movies. I think this is why I respect Daniel Radcliffe. He went from Harry Potter and he said, right, it's not about the blockbuster, it's not about my star capability, it's about the art. Every indie and streaming movie this boy has chosen has been solid fucking gold. No, it hasn't made $1 billion. It hasn't been featured on the John Campea show. But every script he's chosen, I've watched and I've enjoyed those movies. But what I've enjoyed the most about Dan is his performances and everything he's given to the art form. And when I think about, what's her name? Hermione. I forgot her bloody name now. You know, she's all feminist, she's always gobbing off about something. Dan isn't like that. Dan hasn't got social media. He doesn't talk to the, you know, he's not into, he hasn't got his own journalists he talks to. He talks when he has to promote something, and that's it. And it's like actors like Freddie Highmore and Michael C. Hall. These are private people who love the art form and choose the projects. Let's look at Freddie Highmore, Bates Motel, and The Good Doctor. They're not your fancy Dan Disney Plus shows or HBO Max shows. This is about the art. This is about the acting. And this is what Matt Damon is attempting to say. Franchise filmmaking and franchise television is killing the industry. From the early 30s to from the late 30s to the early noughties, the movie star sold your content and the TV star sold your TV shows. It's not like that now because the franchise is now the star. And now you can ask the question, of course, is this evolution or devolution? And I think it's a bit of both. But from Scorsese's point of view, from Damon's point of view, they make a good point. Because for them it's frustrating. Because they don't want to make superhero films. They don't want to be in superhero films. They want to take an original piece of content, a book, adapt it, do something beautiful with it. I was watching the movies that made us over on Netflix. I watched the behind the scenes making or documentary, whatever you call it, of Back to the Future and Forrest Gump. And even though Back to the Future was a trilogy, a franchise to a point, it's nothing as in the realms of today. But when you look at a film like Forrest Gump, they would never make a film like Forrest Gump. Wow! Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks literally paid for some of that movie themselves because Paramount wouldn't spend cash on the rights to songs and things like that. Gary Goddard, who directed the Masters of the Universe live action movie, had to put his hands in his pockets and actually invest in the movie himself at the end, or they wouldn't have been able to finish the film. These kind of attitudes are not there anymore. I mean, you know, great kudos to Zack, but at the end of the day, he may not have been paid for Zack Snyder's Justice League, but the studio did give him 70 million. Maybe some of that 70 million was his wages. Who knows? Not saying a word, I'm zipping it. Don't want to upset anyone. But the point is, this is what Matt's saying. There is not an arena of variety anymore. It's superheroes, it's franchises, it's the Fast and the Furious franchise that's nearly at the end of its journey. There's nothing for talented people to be able to do to tell a story. In fact, it is the streaming services that give them the only option because cinema doesn't. So before you attack Matt Damon for saying all these things, maybe you should think again, and maybe he's actually got a point. And finally today, let's talk about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, but specifically let's talk about the people he kills. Now specifically, I'm not giving any spoilers who dies, by the way, so you can stay, please don't go. There was one of the things I said to you, and I said to myself when I heard, and he told us that Warner Brothers said he could kill absolutely anyone he wanted. I said to myself, okay, this could be bullshit, or he could be on the level. You never know with James Gunn, do you? He makes big statements. But the thing is, if you're allowed, this is what I was thinking before I saw the movie. I saw it last week, by the way. I've already told you like that. I will be going to see it for a second time on Friday. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all being well. But before I saw the movie, I thought to myself, if he's able to kill anyone, then he must fucking kill anyone. He must kill that specific character or characters you wouldn't think he'd be allowed to kill. Because when someone says to you, the studio said, I'm free to kill anyone I want, that's not because they respect you as a writer-director, and they do respect him as a writer-director, as I respect James as a writer-director. No. They know they're about to enter the multiverse. They're about to reboot the DCEU in a certain point of view. That means whoever they kill off, or whoever James killed off in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, could enter in one of the different Earths in the multiverse as a different version of that character, or when you reboot the multiverse, he can just come back to life. A bit like Steve Trevor can come back to life, or we can see another version of Steve Trevor, because we're entering the realms of the multiverse. That's the only reason this is happening. So when we finally do the spoiler review, I will talk to you about who did and didn't die. And I will tell you if I think James Gunn is brave or not killing some people. Now, there's a couple of characters he killed off that really triggered me, because I thought, and I can't specifically go into it, but I thought, those characters shouldn't have died. In fact, their opposites should have died. Because here's the thing, one of the things you know about watching an older film like Die Hard or something like that, you know your lead character is going to be in danger, he could be injured, you could worry for him or her, but they're going to come through it. And that's an important element. When you go hell for leather and you just kill anyone, you see, the audience is not stupid. You either can kill anyone, or you just kill certain susceptible people that you feel it's okay to kill. We will discuss that a lot more. But what I will say is that I don't agree with at least 2 of the deaths in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. This has been the Movies TV Mad Daily. This has been Tuesday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. I will be back tomorrow, or maybe later on, depending what's developing out there in the world of entertainment news. Until I see you again, have a lovely day. Goodbye.